Hello and welcome to the second First Chesapeake Town Hall of our 2022-2023 season. It's great to talk to you again. If you haven't seen me before, my name is Scott Turnbull. I'm the new executive director of First Chesapeake. It's great to talk to the community again. I really enjoyed our last session. I have with me this time two superstars of the First Chesapeake community. Alex Bryant is joining us as the new director of programs. He just started, I think, a week ago. So welcome, Alex. So say hello. I'd love to just say hello to the community and introduce yourself a little bit if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, my name is Alex Bryant. I live in Charlottesville, Virginia. My journey with First began back in 2008 when I was a freshman. I was hanging around after school and I got pulled into a classroom and they're like, "You're here for this, right?" And I was like, "I have no idea." And it was for First Robotics, Team 346, the RoboHawks. And I was hooked from that first meeting. I did it all 4 years. I drove. I was part of the leadership there. Did some marketing, and it was just absolutely a phenomenal experience. And it really opened up a lot of opportunities because it kind of demystified things that you're like, you can't do that, you can't do that. It's like, oh yeah, you can do anything if you try, right? And so it's just been a wonderful journey, and it's really fortunate and so lucky to be back here.
Thanks, Alex. I really appreciate that. I also want to introduce Debbie Friedman, who is our director of volunteer and community engagement. Debbie, you might remember from last season, but I don't think she ever got an introduction to the community, and I felt terrible about that. I think Debbie's a wonderful person working very hard on behalf of the community in First Chesapeake. So, welcome officially 6 months, or I guess it's 8 months, right? A little late, but welcome, Debbie. It's great to have you here. I'd love it for you to introduce yourself.
Hi, Scott. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I got involved in First back when my son was in FLL and then moved on to FTC. And I was one of those parents who said, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines. And I became an FTC scorekeeper. And I did that for 4 or 5 years. And I've also been a Dean's List judge for both FTC and FRC. And then this amazing opportunity came up. I loved First from the first day I volunteered. I remember walking in, not knowing anybody, leaving 12 hours later, exhausted, and couldn't wait to sign up again. That's the kind of volunteers I want, and that's the kind of happiness and enthusiasm I want to create and make sure that all my volunteers have. So I'm just delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. And all of you in Twitch land, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you will not have a bad experience volunteering. So if you haven't seen us before and you want to come out and volunteer, we would absolutely love to have you along. And you know what? These teams are top notch. You will not have a bad day spending any time with these teams. So if you've ever considered mentoring, we would love to talk to you and get you involved with a team or help you start a team of your own. We think it's a really great way to spend your time. So if you want to be involved in our community, we'd really love to have you. So thank you. So what we're going to do today a little bit is we're just going to answer. We're going to do a little bit of programmatic update. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on right now, how the season is shaping up. At the end, we're going to talk a little bit about volunteerism, things to get together on that, and we're going to open up for questions. So you can drop your questions down in the robotic chat. And we'll try to answer them a little bit later. Matt's going to grab the promising ones and put them up as time allows. Full warning, I am using my spicy Heck Boy mug. So I will try not to be too spicy when I answer your questions. All right. So programmatic updates. If you've been watching the the page at all in our communications, you know we've added a number of events in the first technical challenge. And I said in our last town hall that we were really seeking the Maryland events. So I want to thank you so much for the Maryland community for really stepping up and working with us to find those events. We have found really three extra events, two up in Maryland. So I think we've added one at Johns Hopkins in Laurel, and we've added one the Bullis School event that had been our championship. That's become a qualifier now, and our championship has now moved to Archbishop Spalding High School in Severn, Maryland, which is a bigger facility. We think if we can fit more teams and have a great time there, and we're looking forward to our time at Bullis as well. Well, adding as well Norfolk State University. We don't have an exact date. It's just because of the basketball schedule. As you can imagine, a lot of the problems getting venues is basketball at college. So that's either going to be on the 28th of January or the 4th of February. It's on our selection list, so you've seen it before. But we'll announce this week, I think, or early next week about when that will actually be. So that should be updated pretty soon for us. but dates that are important to us is first selection preferences are underway right now. So first mentors, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check your email. You'll get a link to a form you have to fill out. Now, to be able to register, you have to have both paid first and paid us. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But that ends on the 23rd. So first preference selection ends on the 23rd. We will announce this assignments from that first round of preferences on the 25th, and then we will go ahead and open up a second round of preferences on the 26th, and that will run from the 26th of October through the 2nd of November. We'll try to match teams as best as possible. Usually, your first round, people normally get that. And we'll explain a little bit about the process for match in a minute, but just those dates, keep them in mind. So it's the 23rd, this round ends. The 25th, we'll announce the assignments. The 26th, we will open up second preferences. That closes on November 2nd. And then we'll open up wait list, third play, out of district play for any slack slots on or about the 7th of November. So watch your email for those announcements. I know you got a lot of emails from us. We got a lot of programs out, but keep an eye out for that. We're also going to be doing next season outreach. So last year we couldn't get started until May, which is one of the reasons we were in the situation we were in this year. This time last year, nobody knew if we were going to have live events. And of course, we're back to live events this year. So we'll start in November to do some active research for sites this year to host. We're going to do a little bit more thoughtful location of these to make sure they're centered on our population centers and things like that. So we'll do some active outreach. So you teams that are out there, we would really encourage you, if you have a good relationship with a venue that can host us, we want to have larger FTC events, bigger footprint, be able to get more teams in those areas. So keep in mind and let us know if you have locations that might be appropriate, and we'll be reaching out to these locations and teams as well. So look for that in about mid-November. I know Thanksgiving will hit then, so we may not communicate to early December, but that's early enough to get us a great start. On the FRC front, as you know, second preference selections are underway, and actually it's getting close to complete. That's going to be open for a little while. So that's running. I think we're running pretty good on capacity. We were debating where we were going to add another event, but that's still ongoing right now. And first is running. That closes on the 17th. That is also the payment deadline. So just be aware that that's when that payment deadline is. So if you have to catch up with first, go ahead and do that. Make sure you get that done before November 17th, or reach out to us if you have any questions, or first itself. But just keep that in mind. All right. I'm going to talk a little bit about the programs, how selection is done, and things like that. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the down in the chat. I'll try to answer them later, but hopefully you'll get your questions answered now. As I mentioned, we added several events. Laurel, Potomac, Bullis School was moved to a qualifier. We're adding Norfolk State on an exact date, and Severn is now the championship. So that's a bigger event. We looked at more teams. FLL is going to be co-located with us and some of our other partners. So we think it's going to be a really fantastic championship event for FTC. Talk about event assignments. So they're up right now. There's been we've done it differently previous years, if I understand. So just this year, to be clear, this is not first come, first serve. So you have until it closes out on the 23rd to go ahead and pick your first preference events. After that, we will assign them based on the capacity of the venue and a random selection of the teams that are pulled from that. Now, we're going to try to keep schools together. So I know many of you have reached out to us, quite a few of you, and there's teams that want to travel together as much as humanly possible. We want to try to honor that. We can't guarantee it, but especially when we get the second round, but we're going to try as best we can to make sure that you're all able to stay together. So it's really going to be weighted by school, and then random assignment based on your event preferences. Where our capacity is pretty good. We're pretty close to it. I can pull up my spreadsheet, which you can't see. So that'll be compelling for you. But my date is, we have about, we think we're going to get about 233 teams total are eligible to play this year, where they've either paid us or paid first or something, or paid both. Our event capacity is about 234 without stretching some of the venues. So we think we're going to be okay. We won't get 100% of those teams in. We know some will end up dropping, but we think we'll have a few slacks. We'll have a few slots for out of district play. If you're watching from out here, when we do third play and out of district play, we'll determine then. But we will open up to out of district play if we have the slots available. But the preference will be given to third play teams. there are several teams. About 24 teams have paid first, but not us, and about 12 teams have paid us, but not first. So I know it's a little confusing for everybody out there in First Land, but you pay a fee to First Inspires. That's their registration fee for the season, and then you pay us for your plays, which you should have gotten invoice for. So just make sure that those are both. Look in your first dashboard for the first payment and whether that's gone through. And for us, you should have received an invoice to your the lead mentors listed on the first dashboard. They should have gotten an invoice from us. So go ahead and pay that if you're looking to make sure they're reconciled. Some of you have seen if you try to enter your team number and you haven't paid both those fees, you're not able to register in event preference. So the sooner you can get that reconciled, I think the better you'll be off and be able to be assigned to an event. Yeah, we're doing so a few things we'll do differently next year. I wanted to bring this up really quickly. I don't know why we're doing this first 2 event preferences in FTC. I'm not sure we need to do it that way. So we'll negotiate with people during the year, but I think we'll just do one preference where you rank all the events in order of your preference. You can just build a little ranking form, and that I think it'll be one form. It's a lot easier for folks. And we promise not to do it on a weekend next year. So you're sending emails out on the weekend. One of since of course we're not using the modern technology we wish we had, so our databases are a little out of sync. It takes about 24 hours for a payment at first to show up in our system and sort of propagate through the system to the form. So so just be aware of that when you go ahead and register. So those are the updates for FTC that I had. I'd like to turn it over to Alex for just some brief updates on FRC.
Yeah, thank you. So with FRC, we're really excited to have more in-person kickoff locations. And as Scott was saying earlier, we didn't necessarily know last year when we were planning, but now we do. And so those are now available to you all on your dashboard at First Inspire. So you can go through there and register. You also want to make sure that if you had your kit and you're going to ship that to your school, if you would like to pick it up in person and save those fees and the hassle, make sure to do that before November 17th and hope to see you at one of those kickoffs. Yeah. Further down, we're going to bring back our Women in STEM program. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's a scholarship program that's sponsored by Dominion Energy, and it's a really wonderful celebration of female leadership in the high school level. So if you are a woman who is a junior or a senior and you're competing in the district, we really encourage you to apply. The applications for that are going to come out hopefully later this month and will close before the end of the year. Lastly, for any alumni who are on the channel, we have our alumni ambassador program we're bringing back. Those applications will go out in November. It's a really excellent opportunity as an alumni to participate, to volunteer, and to get some extra money to your favorite teams. So I encourage everyone to apply. And with that, I think we can pass it over to Debbie, and she can talk a little bit more about the volunteering and the judging this year.
That's great. Thanks, Alex. So first, I want to say again, welcome to all the volunteers this year. Whether or not you're a veteran volunteer or a returning volunteer, we're excited to have you back. And the best part of it is that we are going to be in person again this year. And that's really important for our volunteers, because part of the magic of volunteering for First is the camaraderie, the friends you make with other volunteers, the friends you get to see year after year, mentoring the new volunteers. There's just a lot going on, and just the energy of the event. So we're all looking forward to that again. Another thing that's going to be returning this year is shadowing. So for our new volunteers, you might not know what this is. Sometimes some of the more technical roles, you might be ready for it, you might not, and you don't know. When you shadow a role, you take the training, but you work alongside a veteran volunteer and you learn everything about it. And it's a great way for you to try something new and for us to build our pool of volunteers. So we would love for you to reach out and tell us if you're interested in a more complicated role. We have a new feature on the website this year, which I'm really excited about. Now, you know, previously, if you were wanting to look and see where you needed to volunteer, you had to log into your dashboard and look at every single event. Is there something I need in this event? And log out of that one and log into the next event and go through all the events. So what I did is I put on our website a special page. So when you go to the volunteer tab and you pull down and you go to the thing that says volunteer roles currently available, I've embedded 2 spreadsheets into the website, an FTC spreadsheet and an FRC spreadsheet. These spreadsheets will tell you all the roles that are currently available for every single event. We are going to work to update it about every 12 hours, twice a day. Fingers crossed we can do that when times get busy, but I think we'll be good. So it's one-stop shopping for you. So maybe if you're a scorekeeper like me, you can look across all the FTC events and see where the scorekeepers are needed. Then log into your dashboard and you'll know exactly what to apply for. I think it's going to be a really useful tool, and I'm excited to be using it this year. Another thing I wanted to talk about is we have created half-day roles. Some of the volunteer roles for FIRST, as you know, have to be full day or 2-day or 3-day. But I had a lot of people telling me, I only have half a day to give, but I really want to be a part of it. So I've taken a few of the roles and made them half day, maybe a morning or an afternoon, to sort of give everybody a chance to participate and come and join the fun. So be on the lookout for those roles. They will be marked and you will be able to identify them. This is going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year, and so we're going to all have to work together. I'm going to ask my veteran volunteers to really support the new volunteers, but I really want everybody to come out and enjoy the events and have a good time. And as always, when you have comments or ideas to make the volunteer experience better, let me know. Thank you.
I have a question for you, Debbie.
Sure.
What question? I love to ask this question. You probably heard me ask it before. What question do you wish people would ask you about volunteering? Like when they show up on their first day, what question do you wish they would ask you?
I wish they would ask me probably something like, what should I expect and where do I go? Believe it or not, people take all the training, they do everything right, they get their shirt, they get their badge, and then they stand there. They stand there in the front hallway of the venue and they're like, where do I go? What do I do? And I want to work on that a little bit, so you know who to report to and whatever. And the second thing I want people to ask is, what volunteer role should I be doing? I want to be part of the event, but am I a technical person? Am I a judge? Am I better at welcoming people at the front door? And, email us and let us help you, because we can sort of tell you what the roles are about. We also have some great role descriptions online that will help you pick. So where do I go and what should I be doing? And that's what we're here for.
Yeah, that's great. And I have a question for Alex too. Thank you so much, Debbie. So you, having been an alum, right? What's your, and you're new. So this is, to be fair to Alex, everyone, now this is his first week. So we'll have him give a deep analytics of experience so far. I'm saying that jokingly, but that's kind of the question. Like already so far, what's, given your experience as a team member before, just starting to get into First Chesapeake, is there something you notice that's like a surprising difference? Like, oh, I didn't realize this is how this goes, or something that stands out to you as sort of a new experience or new insight into something, just getting into the role.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, a lot of new experiences and insights behind the curtain. But I think one of them is really the kind of interplay between First Inspires and like these regional partners like First Chesapeake and the various roles that each is doing behind the scenes to make this happen. And the amount of collaboration that is happening between the two is actually really phenomenal. When I was onboarding, I was thinking it's like, oh, kind of this is the top down. They're going to talk to us once a year and we'll kind of go about our business. But it's actually a lot of communication, a lot of partnering, and a lot of just love and compassion that makes these things happen. A lot of good energy and positivity that is going to create these events.
Yeah. I went to my first, as an official event. I went to an off-season event out in Roanoke the other day. It was great. I'm going to be, by the way, for anybody listening, I'll be at the Cheesy Champs in the morning this coming Saturday, and I'll be in Baltimore. I have wings. I'll be in Baltimore that night or that afternoon at the Battle of Baltimore. So if you see this ugly mug, please come up and say hi. I'd like to say hi. I think, Alex, you're going to the Southwestern Science Museum in Southwestern Virginia Expo, right?
That's right, on Saturday. Excited for it.
Yeah, so please come up and say hi to Alex as well if you're there. We would really love to meet all of you. Okay, I'll say a little bit more just about some of the registration to make sure we're clear about that, and then I'll take we'll take questions and field them as much as we can. But just again, the registrations at FTC. One of the things I've heard, I'm anticipating we'll get a question about. So one of the things I've heard a lot is teams get sort of moved around or assigned, and we're trying to maintain sort of a sense of fairness across the board for all the teams. So really, we're trying to stick as much as we can to that random assignment and slots that are available and working with teams. And if we were open up options, we want to make sure that that's opened up to almost everybody equally, right? So I would hope that, I know everybody has lots of needs and matches, but I would ask just to keep in mind that we are trying to establish some sort of sense of even distribution or even opportunity across all the teams in the district. Where our district extends from the north of Maryland to the south of Virginia, so there's a lot of teams in there. So we will try to do that. So that's why that random thing we're gonna push. But again, we'll try to aggregate schools so that they're able to move around together. Hopefully that those teams that share multiple mentors will be able to move around kind of easily, or share buses, or whatever it is that might come up. Also, when we get to random assignments or assigning wait list teams, we're going to look, it will be random, but we're going to look first at sort of what the distance the team has to. We'll try to make it random within sort of like whatever blocks of distance those teams have to travel to get there. And we'll probably reach out to you all when we get to that waitlist assignment for FRC to be able to ask, hey, do you mind going to one event or another? So Alex will be reaching out to you in that time. There was some talk about whether we would add a 7th event, and we're right on the cusp of whether we would need it. So, but at the end of the day, we're about 100 teams that are registered this year in FRC, which is low. It's a pretty big drop, and we acknowledge that. So we were hoping to get close to 115, which is about our inflection point for a new event, but we just didn't get there. So thanks for everybody who worked with us to sort of make that happen, but that just ended up where we are this season. So we'll try to work with everybody as best to get them matched to an event, but there might be a couple of second play travels that we'll have to deal with this season. So thank you everybody for your patience there. Okay, Matt, if we have any questions, I'd love to start just taking what we have. What happens to FRC teams waitlisted for a second event? What are their options? So yeah, thanks. So for FRC teams, there's a few that are about 22, I think, are waitlisted right now. Most of the events that we're looking at are full. We've had people reach out if there's a spot there, but most of the other events are full. We have 2 events really. It's mostly right now Portsmouth and Blacksburg that we're looking to sort of see if teams can go to. So what we'll do, I think we're still working through this. We're going to reach out to you to see if there's a preferred place to go. If you work with us to go to one place or another, and if teams just can't decide, then we will do assignments based on random draw. But we're really just going to talk to teams to see if we can get them to the place that works best for them. Different teams are different. Some want to come down 95. Anyway, FRC, since Blacksburg's and Hampton are at 20 plus teams registered for, are waitlisted teams going to be required to fill the open slot at that event? I think I've answered that. Required is a strong term, but we're going to work with the teams to get them moved to where those slots are. If there's not 28 teams at an event, the first cancels it, actually. So some of this is, about half of this is in our hands and half is not. So yeah. Will alumni ambassadors be open to FTC as well as FRC? That's a great question. Yes, we will. Alumni and alumna are members of the First Family, and they will be welcome to participate in all of this as well. So yes, absolutely, FTC. And I want to be clear about that. I know there's some rivalry between FTC and FRC. We don't see it that way. We love our communities. It's all a continuum of experiences and robotics and skills to us. So FTC is very much a part of the First Family. So thank you very much for that question. Regarding the volunteer portal email today, what is the reasoning behind creating a separate volunteer system outside the First HQ ecosystem? Is this going to be more work for volunteer coordinators and planning committees to keep things updated instead of the traditional means? I think I know the answer to that, but do you want to take a stab at that, Debbie?
Right. Yeah. I didn't create another volunteer portal. Yeah. All I created was a list of roles that were available. You cannot register there at all. You still use the standard volunteer management system that is run by First. So that handles all the volunteers. So maybe I wasn't clear, and I'm sorry if I wasn't. But all I've created is a place you can go shopping and see what's available in one look. Yeah.
And we're doing a lot of that. It's hard because there's information is all over the place. So we're trying to aggregate, like, is there a gateway they come through? If we're the initial point of contact, is that vital information there? If it's also on first, that's not a problem with us. We just want people to be able to find it in some easy way. So that's the logic there. We're not trying to fork systems, though, really any of the systems. For half-day roles, are those first approved, and have the budgets been adjusted to account for more volunteer supplies and food? Is this putting more work on site hosts and VCs? I can probably answer the second one. You take the first half of that, Debbie?
Yes, no, the half-day roles are not the first approved roles. These are usually roles like, let's say, parking lot attendants, judging queuers, welcome desk people, what I call event support roles, that people we could easily have one shift and then another shift.
Yeah, and budget wise, it's really no different number wise, not much with that. We were bringing these people. The problem is these people were told that they had to be there the entire day if the role only filled like 4 hours. So we were getting people saying, well, I could do 4 hours, but I can't do a whole day. And we were getting volunteers not showing up for that. So it actually doesn't increase the numbers. It doesn't change the budget numbers at all. And we're just defining these roles so people understand what they're committing to before they come. Please explain what links have been emailed out. Know a VC for December FTC that would like to start getting volunteers registered. Oh, okay, great. I think they're talking about volunteer links. So the thing that went out today. Do you want to talk about the link?
I think the question was about volunteer coordinators. We know of a VC, which is a volunteer coordinator for December, that would like to start getting volunteers registered. Right. I know we're running a little behind this year, but we are working on putting together our teams for the events with the event manager, the volunteer coordinator, and everything. I will be working with everybody personally, along with, I have a senior volunteer coordinator this year, Chris Garrity, and the two of us are going to be training everybody, getting everything done. A lot of work is going on behind the scenes. There will be enough time to get it all done. We're going to do this.
What about the second part of the question? Are VCs going to have more work for that system to be implemented? I think we answered that.
If you're talking about the system like with the half-day people and all, absolutely not. And as far as updating the spreadsheet, that's on me. So I'm trying to actually help VCs from having, too many questions or anything like that. We're putting information out there for our volunteers to have so they can make the best decisions. So yeah, it's all going to be good.
All right. So that sounds like it's all at the moment. Actually, I'd like to maybe ask questions, Debbie and Alex. What interests you most about robotics at this time? Let me start with Debbie. What do you think the sort of the future is? Like the 5-year picture. You hear me talk about that internally a lot. What do you think the 5-year picture is for robotics and championships and so forth?
Well, I think maybe perhaps you're talking about the skills that the robots have and all. I'm most interested when they can monitor things visually. They have visual sensors. I think that's a lot more interesting than touch sensors and all, because I think that is a wave of the future, being able to recognize something and respond to it by a visual sensor. And I know they use color sensors and light sensors and things like that. And that's what I am personally fascinated by.
Yeah, they just changed the tape, I think, this year, and they're doing kind of glyphs, kind of, right, for the visual component.
Yeah, and last season when those FRC robots were climbing those things and the hang time, I couldn't get enough of that. I love it.
Yeah. And how about you, Alex? What sort of excites you most about the next 5-year window of robotic competition, robotics, the things we might be putting hands on?
Yeah, I mean, I really think about like machine learning and AI and how that can be applied, especially for those autonomous periods in the beginning of the matches.
Yeah.
Just incredibly robust systems that are now like a lot more user friendly, and getting those huge data sets. And how can you take those 6 weeks and start training a robot over the 6 weeks, and it just changes the whole time crunch.
Okay. Yeah, great. I think I'm looking forward to that as well. I mean, that whole like we're at the dawn of social robotics, right? So that I'd be interested to see what happens with first competitions over the next 5 years. We'll see. I think we're going to see a lot of changes. All right. If there's no more questions from the community, I think we'll wrap it up today. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Keep us an eye out on the emails. I know there's a lot coming out, so I apologize, but it's just in that registration season. So we'll be announcing the matches for FTC soon. A few weeks after that, we'll be announcing we'll reaching out to teams when it comes to the waitlist teams for FRC, and then we'll be worrying about out of district plays and third place and things like that. But we've got a great season ahead of us. We're really looking forward to it. And thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.